Welcome to the issue. I am the ghetto man. Today's issue: fake patriotism, the root of the whole problem that we're having in this country. Like most people who spend a little time on Facebook and also watching various different videos on YouTube, are used to either making comments or reading comments and that sort of thing. Well, I've been there's just one particular gentleman, and I'm not going to mention his name on YouTube. He's a retired Marine. I mean, he's a nice guy. He has a little YouTube program where he sits down and he talks about his opinion on things and this and that. Anyway, I I come to the conclusion that what we're dealing with here, one of the biggest problems we have, or maybe the biggest problem at this point, is fake patriotism. We have people out there, that are a member of either party, the Democrats or the Republicans. And I mean, there's people out there that call themselves libertarians, Libertarian Party, and then you have the Green Party, and I got everything right down to the Communist Party, for crying out loud. That's one of the things that concerns me as well. But the thing that concerns me the most is how people rally around their party instead of around what the problem is. And over the years, I've taught this American history and constitutional law on all kinds of different formats, and only because I didn't have any choice. Like I said, back in the 70s and the 80s, especially the 80s, we had the VCR. That's all we had, and we set up seminars in various different cities and invite people out to listen to little reason, logic, and common sense. Of course, everybody was labeled by the lamestream media as a bunch of kooks, and you don't want to listen to these people because they're conspiracy theorists, so they'd hang some kind of unsavory label upon you. Well, anyway, I've taken my time, I make a few comments in various different videos, and one of them is this retired Marine fella. And one of the things that I noticed is that when you start talking about the real problem, which is not understanding how our law works, not understanding our history, and understanding how the Constitution works, how it was set up and how it actually works, you just don't know when somebody within a certain party is, pulling the wool over your eyes. Now, I know I've talked about this sort of thing before, but I want to make an example of this because what I try to do, and when I make a comment, is I want to make sure that I try to, expose the gorilla in the room. So, what I do is I take things from a constitutional standpoint. I don't care about the parties, as I've told people before. I'm a political atheist. I don't believe in the parties. I think that there's only one party with two names, the Demo-Republic Nazis. And I think that we're approaching a point where we're actually having a third party come up, and that party is what I call the Trump party. Okay, and what it is about parties that I find very interesting is that they have an agenda. They really don't care about the Constitution. In fact, when their guy or their people violate it, they always find an excuse, or they just ignore it. They ignore the gorilla in the room. But anyway, I left a kind of a lengthy comment on this one video, and I basically said this. I said, I took an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and that's what I'm going to do. I will fight for the U.S. Constitution only. I will oppose anyone that violates the U.S. Constitution and will not fight for a political party. Trump, like every president since the Korean War, has attacked a foreign country without a declaration of war by an act of Congress. That is a severe constitutional violation. If that does not concern the American people, then the fight is over. No one is above the law. No one. Without the U.S. Constitution and without a sovereign citizenry that insists on the U.S. Constitution being followed, there is no saving the Republic. Everything else is mindless rhetoric. It is the U.S. Constitution and the visions of our nation founding fathers that is on the chopping block, not the visions of the false left and right. We must all fight for the U.S. Constitution. It's the only thing that matters. Without the U.S. Constitution, there can be no freedom. There can be no USA. If you're not part of the solution, then you're part of the problem. Okay. I got a response from that. And basically all it was is some guy says, we need more people like you, go Trump. Okay. So what we have here is we have the same thing we have in the Democrat and Republican Party. We have this third party that I call the Trump Party. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to the people who support Trump or the people who support anybody in the Democratic Party. And we know the Republicans are really not, they don't support Trump. And in fact, they're in a political coup d'etat right now to find a way to get rid of him and just appoint somebody or have some kind of special election, in total violation of the Constitution. But that's what they want to do. The two parties, the one party with two names does not want this third party, which is no different because, as you can see, it doesn't matter whether people who support Trump and the Trump party, it doesn't matter to them whether or not he breaks the law. What matters to them is that their guy is in office and their guy is going to save the day. Now, what's interesting about this is that most of the people that responded, the comments is they accused me of being a troll. Now, all I'm doing is I'm not taking a political position. I'm just saying that if we're going to, as a veteran, as a ex-serviceman, I took an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. I don't think that, reminding people of that in a comment is trolling them, unless, of course, supporting and upholding and defending the Constitution constitutes trolling to those that are in the Trump party. Anyway, this is what another person said. Troll means you're doing the right thing. Truth means you'll get David Broxor's paid online trolls. Most truthers who are real and factual will get trolls. So congratulations, and I'm not going to mention the man's name, means you're credible. Keep the faith. We need you. So what it comes down to is that a person who comes out and identifies a problem and then turns around and says, here's what we need to do is we need to have people in there that are obeying the Constitution. I'm a troll. And because I'm promoting the Constitution and they're promoting, defending somebody who has openly violated the Constitution. And I'm not just picking on Trump. There isn't anybody in Congress, there isn't anybody in government whatsoever, whether it's at state or the federal level, that are obeying the law. But it's interesting how these people take someone who is trying to teach them, how to be a good citizen and uphold and defend the Constitution, understand what it is I'm a troll. Now, another person says so-and-so's name, them trolls don't pay your bills, go to work for you, or raise your kids, so screw what they think. You are a Marine machine, and you leave us again for another week, and I'm going to hunt the troll down and beat his ass. So, I guess that anybody that would dare, get on here and say something against the party, the Trump party, not the fact that Trump violated the law, but say something against the Trump party, this guy is going to hunt me down and kick my ass. And then another one here, it says, it's time to kick the left bully square in the nuts. Square in the nuts, thank you. It's time Trump and supporters get on the offensive instead of taking a pounding every damn day. I know the enemy is within, and it's not easy, but that's why we voted for him. Get on the offensive and start draining Get AG Sessions to get busy in prosecuting these lifetime government crooks. What happened to lock her up, Thess Rich, Hillary Russian? It goes on and on and on. So I guess this guy thinks it's okay for his party, the Trump party, to go ahead and violate Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution and bomb people without a declaration of war by an act of Congress. And that anybody that gets on here, I'm the left now. I'm the left because I support the visions of the founders of our great republic and the Constitution of the United States, which everyone that was in the service, we all took an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution, didn't we? From what I understand, that's what we did. Anyway, I think there was one other thing that was on here, and let's see what else it says here. It says Dems want complete and utter rebellion against anything that's good and wholesome. Therefore, anything against God, law, and order, righteous patriots, they don't belong in this country. I hope to God they start a civil war. If they will be killed on a good day, I think I could kill 1,000. And there are so many Americans that could do better than that. If anyone thinks there could not be another civil war in this country, they must have come down with the last drop of rain. I really don't know what the guy's saying here, but as far as he's concerned, I guess I'm a Democrat. See, there's no possibility that I could be something other than a Democrat or Republican. And then he sits here and talks about being a patriot, and a patriot is someone who would obey the Constitution, would uphold and defend it against all enemies, foreign and domestic. It would be somebody who loved his freedom. Okay, being loyal to a party or person is not patriotic. It's not patriotic at all. In fact, it's unpatriotic. You should be loyal to one thing and one thing only. And that, my friends, is the United States Constitution. If your loyalty lies anywhere when you're living in this country, it lies in your understanding and upholding and defending the United States Constitution. How about, I know this seems like a novel idea, but how about we elect somebody who is going to support the Constitution, who is going to support the separations of powers doctrine, that is going to support lawful money, is going to support a Republican form of government. That's why I say at this point, Trump has become a third party. It is a party now. It's not about whether or not we're doing something that is right or wrong. It's whether or not you support the party. Now, if that's how you're going to do this, then how are you ever going to get anything done? And how come you would attack somebody who has gone out of his way to do intense research? And I mean more intense research than anyone on the internet has done when it comes to the subject of the Constitution and constitutional law, American history, a courtroom procedure, how to act as your own attorney and represent yourself. How in the world has someone who come to that point in their life that people can say, this guy is a troll, and that what they're saying, which is we're going to ignore our party's leader, the Trump party, we're going to ignore his violations of the Constitution, and what we're going to do is we're going to try to point out all the good he's done, and we don't care that the ends justify the means. Well, if you're going to live in this republic and that you want to have the benefits of a truly free society, you have to understand what the law is. You just have to understand. And just because someone told you for almost a year how he was going to drain the swamp and make America great again. You want to make America great again? Then do your job when you're hired. Now, if I were elected president, the very first thing that I would do is I would sit there and say that I can cannot prosecute any more of these wars because none of the wars were ever enacted by an act of Congress. In other words, there wasn't a declaration of war by an act of Congress. So therefore, as president, under the separation of powers doctrine, I do not have any authority to continue prosecuting these things. And then I would order by executive order, because the executive is in charge of the military, and when there is a war. This is very difficult for me to explain because I would just sit there and say I have no authority to prosecute these wars, and therefore I'm going to order all the troops home, and I'm going to get our people out of these countries that we don't belong in until Congress has a declaration of war. And then because of the declaration, I would become commander-in-chief of the armed forces, and I would go ahead and execute what Congress authorized. So when Trump came in, that was his only option there. And then as far as the money's concerned, the Federal Reserve do the same thing. I know that it got John F. Kennedy killed when he made an executive order taking the power of issuing the money away from the Federal Reserve, which they have no power under the Constitution in the first place. The Federal Reserve is just a private corporation that has total control over our nation's economy, totally in violation of Article 1, Section 8 of the United States Constitution, and clearly in violation of Article 1, Section 10 of the United States Constitution. That could be ended by a president who says, I'm no longer going to go along with these unconstitutional things. By exercising that independent power under the executive branch, he could end all these things that the other branches put into place in violation of the Constitution. And it doesn't matter if a court, goes along with an unconstitutional statute, because when that court does that and goes along with an unconstitutional statute, it has no power or authority on any branch of government. And so if the courts say, something is blatantly unconstitutional is constitutional, the president doesn't have to obey that order any more than the president has to obey the legislature when they pass an unconstitutional law. This is the power of the separation of powers doctrine. This is what we're talking about here. We're not talking about Trump is going to make America great again. How's he going to do that if he's not going to obey the Constitution? And now we have a third party, which clearly is run by the same people who run the other two parties. I mean, it's just the same thing. It's business as usual. The only thing different is that you have a group of people who will falsely support somebody, and even as these people did in their comments, they will condemn a person from upholding and defending the Constitution. Well, this is ridiculous. And if you can't see how important it is for you and me to understand how the Constitution works, so that we can point out to people and point out to those that we have elected where they're violating the law. I mean, here in Montana, we have the Democrats and the Republicans. We have a guy by the name of something Gianforte, and then they have a musician that is Rob something or other. I can't even remember his name. Anyway, we have a musician and a businessman that are running for the Senate seat. Since Trump wins office, we lost one of our senators. I think we only get one congressman and one senator. Anyway, they're voting. People are going to go out there and vote for these people. And just by listening to them, because I understand the Constitution, understand how it works and why it works, you can see that neither one of these people are qualified to be in this office. They don't even have a clue what they're doing. They're like a dog chasing his tail. They wouldn't know what to do with it if they caught it. So, one of the things I really thought that the people of the United States were ready to learn what they need to do to solve this problem. But just by following the comments in most of these YouTubes where people claim they're patriotic and they support Trump, it's nothing more than pseudo-patriotism or fake patriotism. They're fake. They wouldn't know how to be patriotic if their mind depended on it. These are people that will pledge their allegiance to the flag. And even though they verbally say, and to the republic for which it stands, they'll turn right around after they get done and tell you, I love this democracy. I'd give my life for this democracy. When democracy is forbidden under our Constitution, hated by the founders. Go to Article 4, Section 4. What's it say? The United States of America shall guarantee to each state of the Union a Republican form of government. And don't confuse that with the Republican Party, because the Republican Party does not support a Republican form of government. They support democracy. And I can assure you, just by the actions of the Trump Party, that that's the same thing. You see, they don't support anything except what they think is right. I mean, one of the most recent things that Trump did, and I mean, on its face, it looks like a really good thing. He sat there and he said, what we're going to do is make sure that we exempt those people from Obamacare, as far as it comes to abortion and contraceptives and those things that's against their religion. So therefore, he signs an executive order, saying that they're exempt from that. How arrogant. The First Amendment says Congress will make no law that would bridge that. So Obamacare, which is forcing private product or service on the public, is totally unconstitutional. Government can't do that. And now the president is going to give back to us rights that were guaranteed and secured by the United States Constitution under the First Amendment. And I'm supposed to say, oh, that's wonderful. He's giving back our rights. Well, they had no authority to take them in the first place. So it's just a game. It looks like he's doing a good thing for you, but he's not doing anything that the law already allows. It's crazy when you think about how ridiculous some of this stuff has gotten over the years. But anyway, I wanted to touch that subject about pseudo-patriotism or fake patriotism because it's all around us. You sit here and get into any type of conversation to somebody. It always falls back on the political end of it. It never falls back on the legal end of it. And if we're going to be in a nation of laws and not men, then we all, the sovereign, we the people, we have to continuously, diligently fight for our rights and to make sure that we don't go along with people who violate the Constitution. If they'll violate it in one place, they're going to violate it in another. So now what happened here, we do have a three-party system now, really one party with three names, the Democrats, the Republicans, and the Trump Party. Now, I know people out there are going to get really irritated with me over this, but I'm going to tell you right now, if you're not following the Constitution of the United States, and you're not supporting people that are going to uphold and defend it, and you're letting your public servants get away with breaking the law, then you're the problem. So if you're politically correct, then you're legally wrong. And remember, if you're not part of the solution, then you're the problem. I'm the Ghetto Man, and I want to thank you for watching.